Ahead on this episode, we are legitimate farmers now. We're growing animals out of the dirt. We've got the rest of our crops going, and we are about to enter the Iron Age. All that and more ahead on this episode of SkyFactory 4. Hey SkyFactory 4 fans, welcome back for another tutorial episode. We have, again, a pretty packed schedule on the cards today. So, big goal for today is we're going to look at getting into the Iron Age. As soon as we start to craft iron, then the amount of things we can do in the game are going to ramp up exponentially. It's a really, really useful building material, and we're going to generate a ton of it, or we're going to need a ton of it at least. Also on the list for today, we're going to look at setting up a basic farm so we can start getting some useful crop materials. And we're going to start actually spawning some mobs, but we're going to be spawning the passive kind. So we're going to need some livestock, we're going to need some animals, which are going to help us on the path to a couple of our other later advancements. So now since last episode, I've made a few more improvements to the platform. You can see I've started to set up some new areas, which we're going to use for our farming a little bit later in this episode. I've expanded our bonsai pot sort of area out quite a bit, so we're running 3 wide now. Again, double pots of each type, and we'll probably continue to expand this platform as we add more saplings and more tree types to the mix. Which at the moment it's looking pretty good. We've got the extra saplings that we created at the end of last session, so there's the tin saplings, and I've set out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more areas for some of the saplings that we're going to be working on next. In fact, let's just grab some more of those bricks that I've got cooking at the moment. We're going to create... let's just go 2 more, and we're going to chuck those on now just so that we've got that space ready to go. So there we go. Given that cobblestone is pretty abundant now, and we're certainly not going to be lacking for it anytime soon, I'm keen to start building out this platform quite a bit and starting to make it look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, because these wooden planks serve the purpose for a little while. We're fast outgrowing them. They don't look that great. We can start to look things a lot prettier. But what I really want in order to do that is the chisel tool. And as soon as we get into the Iron Age, we will be on the path to obtaining that. And then we can start to make some really fancy looking blocks and pretty this whole place up quite a bit, which will be great. So yeah, in the meantime, we can actually get started on that iron stuff and the farm stuff. But what I really want to do first is we want to start adding a bit of green. So I want to create some grass blocks and actually chuck them down here so we can actually start to throw some of our excess bone meal down and grow some bits and pieces. So back to the crafting bench. Let's go into JEI, and we want to have a look at the grass block. So getting a grass block is actually pretty easy. One way to do it is to actually add petrified leaves or clay leaves or sand leaves or any of our leaf matter into a cauldron that is full with mud. And as we went through last episode, we can actually make mud in a cauldron by simply adding a dirt block to a cauldron full of water. So let's do that now. Now we're only going to need a couple of grass blocks because as we know, grass tends to spread, so we can just throw a few in there and let it do its job. So leaves are something we're not really lacking for at the moment, especially in the dirt department, and I think we've got a bunch of petrified leaves as well. There we go. We can grab a stack of 8. So we're going to need our bucket. We're going to need the dirt that we're carrying. So we'll fill up that cauldron, chuck some dirt in there, and let's just go ham with these leaves and see how many grass blocks we can get out of that. So we can get 4 per stack there. All right, so do that again, rinse and repeat. I might just use all of those leaves actually. So let's get that to mud again. Petrified leaves, another 4, great. And rinse and repeat twice more. So grass blocks are going to be very, very handy. You can actually use the grass blocks in the bonsai pots as well. And they do give a slightly different growth rate to the trees that you put in the bonsai pots, but honestly, I'm not too worried about that until we start automating them, because at the moment, the speed at which they grow is going to be limiting only by the speed at which we're harvesting them, so it doesn't really matter too much. So anyway, mud once again, and this should be our last lot now, so a little bit more water. Back in there, back to mud, and there's the last one. Alright, so we have our grass blocks. Fantastic. So let's just mine out a few random blocks here. Or maybe not so random. And we're going to chuck our grass in and get that really growing. So there we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. Now I'm not too worried about this being grass because we're going to be tilling that soil and turning that into crops. But we are going to have some animals in here, so I might just chuck a couple of grass blocks in here as well and allow that to spread. And why not just use the extras that we've got and really make it work. Alright, I'm going to chuck the leftover grass blocks back in the cabinets. And there we go. So we do have a ton of bone meal now. I've actually been spending quite a bit of time harvesting the bone trees and transferring the acorns and the resin into bone blocks, which actually give you a lot more bone meal than a typical bone does. I think a bone on its own is usually only 3 bone meal, whereas a bone block gives you 9, which is great. So let's take a stack of that. We're going to be using quite a bit of that today. And now that we've got that grass really growing, we can actually start to get some grass happening and get some wild grass happening. We're going to start to pick up our flowers, which will give us our dyes that we need a little bit later. And yeah, we can just go a bit nuts with this. Now, the main reason why we want to start getting this grass growing as well is because this will allow us to actually get seeds. So there we go. I think we just picked up some pumpkin seeds and we've got some melon seeds. So we've already got some seeds coming out of that, which is going to enable us to start our crops off, which is fantastic. Ideally, we want to get some carrot and we want to get some wheat. Those are a couple of the big ones we're going to use today. So let's go through and do a bit of this. There we go. We've got our wheat. So we've just got the advancement shredded wheat. And it shouldn't be too long before we get some of the others we need as well. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to keep ripping through this grass, gather a bunch of seeds. I'll come right back and we'll move on with the next bit. Alright, so I've gone through a stack and a bit of bone meal and I've gotten just about every type of seed that we're going to get at the moment and that we're likely to need. So plenty of poppies and dandelions, which is great. So it's going to be our red and yellow dye a little bit later. We've also got pumpkin seeds. We've got regular seeds for wheat. We've got potato seeds. We've got melon seeds, beetroot. We've got lettuce seeds. Very cool. And we've got carrot seeds. Fantastic. So we're going to get to planting these now, which means that we're going to need some water to get these crops going. We're going to need a hoe as well. So we'll just create a simple hoe using some of the extra sticks that we've got and some of the cobblestone. Cobblestone hoe should do us fine for now. There we go. And we're going to chuck some water blocks in this space where the cobble currently is, I think, which is going to require us to dig down and actually put a bottom under there so that the water doesn't just flow straight through. So let's grab our bucket, trusty bucket, and put some water in here once again. So just get that going. Put enough in there so that we can actually use it to ride down a lot more carefully this time and hopefully get us where we need to be with the water not just disappearing out of there. So there we go. All right. So very, very carefully using our cobblestone blocks this time, we're just going to take a quick ride. We're going to chuck some cobble down, cobble, cobble, and we should be able to, whoops, there we go. We should be able to do what we need to do from there this time. So there we go. We've got the cobble down. Run that across there, and there we go. There's that water channel for us to start mining proper and growing our crops. So that's about it. Excellent. Grab our water, just space that out a little bit better. And there we go. We have our water channel for growing crops. Okay, with our hoe, real simple, nothing too exciting here, vanilla Minecraft stuff. We're just going to hoe all of this ground and plant the seeds that we need. So we definitely need the basic wheat. So we're going to grow that as #1 priority. So let's put that down. So we've got 5 of those. We'll leave the 6th space for that as well. We've got the carrot seeds. We'll definitely put those in as well. What else do we have? Melons are going to take a little bit more space. We don't need those just yet. Pumpkin seeds, the same thing, so we'll just keep those together. And we might actually put a space apart from the rest of this for that a little bit later. Why don't we put down some lettuces and some potatoes, and we can get that going too. So we've got a couple of lettuce. We'll chuck in a couple of potatoes. We can move all these around later. And beetroot are quite handy too. Beetroot actually are another source of red dye, so we'll chuck a couple of those down. And there we go, we'll get that growing. Given how much bone meal we've got as well, we can actually just use a little bit of that extra bone meal, and we can get some of these crops immediately if we really want to. So there we go. A little bit of wheat, just get that going. That gives us a few more seeds. And let's get some of these carrots up as well, because we're going to need those very shortly too. So there we go. Shower us with a few carrots. Fantastic. Okay. So we've got our crops going. We've got our grass blocks. That's not a bad little start there. So what else are we going to look at next? Now we're going to have a look at getting some animals. So to actually start getting our animals in these little spaces here, we're going to want to pen them in. So we're going to need to create some fences. So nice and simple, we'll just grab ourselves a chunk of wood, which we've got plenty of now with all of the tree farming that we've been doing. And we're just going to grab the parts that we need to make a bunch of fences. So there we go. We'll chuck in... should be, oh, that's a whole bunch of gates. We actually want fences, so we're going to need some more sticks. So we need way too many of those. Okay, so actual fences. Let's go with that. And that. Yep. There we go. That should give us a chunk of fences as well. So we'll just pen off one of these areas now and get that ready. So ideally, we're going to start with just 2 animal types this episode. So we're only going to do pigs and cows. We're definitely going to want to expand that out to different animals later on. But the way that you get animals in SkyFactory 4, quite interesting. You don't actually need to go out into the world and obtain them like you normally do, of course. What we're going to be doing is actually growing them from seeds. So kind of crazy. We actually have a bunch of recipes for animal seeds, and we can build those seeds out of some of the components that we've got already, and then we can actually just grow them straight in the pen here. So really, really simple. Let me show you the recipes for them on the crafting station. So if we do a search for seed, you can actually see there's a bunch of the regular sort of plant seeds here for vegetables and things, but we've also got animal seeds. And in this case, we've got pig seeds, we've got polar bear seeds, we've got rabbit seeds, everything you could possibly want, all the way up to villagers and wolves. And, you know, we can even grow some of the hostile mobs like the witches and minotaur seeds. Good God. Death tome seeds, skeleton horse seeds. The list just goes on. Enderman seeds that are going to come in really, really handy later for getting some ender pearls. So make sure you keep an eye on that. And we've got cow seeds, of course. So let's have a look at cow seeds. So cow seeds, we're going to need wheat, we're going to need seeds, and we're going to need leather. Okay, so leather is the one thing we're missing at the moment. We'll get that as we progress through the episode. For pig seeds, we need dirt acorns, which we have. We need regular seeds, and we need carrots. Now we've got all of the materials now to make that. So if we go and grab ourselves some dirt acorns from the box, there we go. And back onto the crafting bench here, we can make ourselves some pig seeds. There we go. And making a pig is going to be super, super easy. All we need to do is finish off this little fence section. And there we go. We'll give ourselves a gate, of course, of which I have a million of them now, thanks to going a bit overboard. So chuck that gate on. Let's not forget about our torches. We don't want anything hostile spawning here while we're working. All right, fantastic. So now we're going to grow ourselves a pig. Grab ourselves our pig seeds, throw them down right in the middle, and we can actually get this one to accelerate a little bit using our bone meal, just like we do with other plants. So I might just close the gate for now. There we go. Chuck the bone meal up. Look at that little baby pig. Isn't that the cutest little thing that you've ever seen? It's so tiny. All right. And if we tap on that a few times, there we go. We have a fully grown, well, baby, but fully healthy pig. Fantastic. Now, if we're lucky, those pig seeds actually sprout a second time and allow us to get another pig. We're not so lucky this time though, so we'll have to actually go and craft some more pig seeds if we want to breed them together. But we have our very first animal. There we go. It's a real little farm that we're creating here. It's looking great. And we're going to start working on cows in just a minute. But I still need to fence in that area. I still need to create some more pig seeds. So I'm going to go do that and I'll be right back. Who's a good little piggy? Who's a good little piggy? You're a good little piggy. All right, we've got all the pigs we could possibly need at the moment. But we do need to wait for these guys to grow up because unfortunately for the next step to get our cows, we are going to need a pork chop. So there's other ways to do it, but we've got our pigs now, so we might as well use them. So sorry, little guys, let's move on to something else in the meantime. So we're going to move on to getting that iron going in the smeltery. So in order to smelt iron, we actually need to start off with some iron amber. Fortunately, the recipe for iron amber is obtainable at the moment because iron amber you can actually create using some of the various different resins that we've got. So we've got clay resin, sand resin, and coal resin, all combined like that. We can actually make iron amber, which we then put in the smelter and create molten iron. So, all right, so let's grab our coal resin, our gravel resin, our sand resin, and our clay resin. And we should be able to make a few of those iron amber blocks. So, clay, we've got the clay resin, we'll just grab all of that. We've got the coal resin, so we'll grab what we've got. We have gravel here, and we have lucky last sand. Okay, so I'm actually curious to see how much of this we can make. We're probably going to be going through a bit of it, but once we get an iron tree going through an iron sapling, it'll make the whole process a lot quicker. So, all right, iron amber. We can go at least one, and that'll give us our advancement for getting the iron amber. Exactly how many of these are we going to be able to do? Let's see. We've got probably another 5 worth of the coal at the very least. We've got a bunch of the gravel. We've got heaps of clay, and yeah, we might actually be looking pretty good with the sand resin, so it'll give us another 5. Excellent. Okay, so with all of that the amber now, we're gonna chuck that into the smeltery. We won't use this one because it's still got a bit of tin in it from doing the tin saplings, but let's chuck some iron amber in there. So just like before, put the iron amber in, and that'll start to melt down. Now, keeping in mind that amber from iron is one of the things that we actually needed the lava in order to melt down. If we had have just gone with the standard heater underneath the smeltery, then that wouldn't have actually done the job. It wouldn't have been hot enough, so lava is going to do the job for us. Now, each one of these iron amber blocks, I believe, actually gives us 2 ingots worth of molten iron there. Ideally we want to get up to about 9 because I'm going to pour out a block of iron and then we can break that down to get some iron bars. So there we go, letting that just melt down. Now let's have a look at the recipe for the iron sapling because that's ultimately what we're trying to get to now. So let's type that in, iron sapling. And we need molten iron over the top of acacia saplings. All right, so while we're waiting, we can actually get the acacia saplings going. So to make an acacia sapling, we need to get an apple sapling and put it in a cauldron full of water. Interesting. All right, so how do we get the apple sapling? That is the question. So apple saplings we can create through bonsai. No, there must be another way to do it. So in order to get an apple, we have to... There's another way to do it, I'm sure. All right, while I work that one out, we're just going to go back and get that iron pouring off into the casting basin there. So you don't actually need a full 9 bars worth to fill the basin immediately. We can actually get started on it now. It'll continue to fill up, and that'll stay molten in there until the time that we pour 9 ingots worth out. So that'll be 6 at the moment, so it'll only fill up part the way. But we can chuck some more amber in there, and that'll melt down and give us what we need. All right, so let's talk about that apple sapling that we're going to need. So brainwaves just hit me, and I've remembered, of course, that you can get apples from regular oak trees. But we don't have an oak sapling. That's something we can remedy, though. So let's go back to the crafting bench, and we want to type in oak sapling into JEI. And there we go. So regular oak sapling, we can create reasonably simply by putting a dirt sapling in a cauldron full of water. So let's do that. We're going to grab a bunch of the dirt saplings. So we just want 4 of them because we're going to be able to do 4 of them out of one bunch of water. And grab a bucket of water, throw that in the cauldron, and there we go. With our dirt saplings, let's just clean this up a bit. Get rid of that. All right, so we have oak saplings. There we go, 4 oak saplings. Now, I'm just going to use some of these spare bonsai pots that we've got to grow our oak saplings at the moment. We don't really need them for much else apart from this, unless we want to get a stack more wood. Not that these trees aren't producing enough to begin with. So the great thing about the bonsai pots when it comes to oak saplings, though, is that they actually have a much higher drop rate chance of giving us apples than if we had have planted them in the regular ground. So hopefully, on our first run, we've got 4 trees growing, so with any luck on our first run, we'll actually hit success and we'll get an apple out of one of them. So let's go. We've got 90%. All right. Come on, baby. Whoops. Use the axe, of course. All right. Did we get it? We did. We got an apple on the first go. Fantastic. All right. And we can put an apple in the crushing tub and actually crush that to get apple seeds. Bam. No! Let's try that one more time. You know, I've lost stuff over the side there so many times now that I've just found a really good way to put our extra fence posts to use. So hopefully that'll protect it from happening again. So there we go. Apple, crush, apple seeds. Fantastic. All right. Now we can put our apple seeds, we're going to chuck them in the ground as per normal. And apple trees are a bit different. They don't actually grow from the apple sapling when you do the seed method. So you can in fact use bone meal, and then you get the sapling after you've done the bone meal process. Dig that up, and now we have a sapling that we can actually put in one of those bonsai pots. But we want a whole bunch more saplings, so I'm just going to plant the sapling, and I think we're going to bone meal that actually. That still won't work, so apple trees are a little bit of a special case. So let's get that going. I think we need some more bone meal for this. Are we out? We're out. Okay. So we're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. So let's go through getting some bone stuff happening again. So once again, we have bone acorns. Chuck them onto the crafting grid. Chuck the resin in between, and that'll give us a stack of bone blocks, which we turn into bone meal. Easy peasy. All right. Hopefully that'll be enough to grow it. There we go. Okay. And crook that off, grab ourselves some apple saplings. We only need one of those to create the iron sapling, so might just grab that and we can come back and clean up the rest of this tree later. So we've got a few apple saplings. Yep, there we go. Fantastic. All right, so putting an apple sapling in the casting tray there, we can pour off the molten iron straight onto that sapling. Actually, no, it wasn't the apple sapling, it was the acacia sapling we needed, which we were going to make by putting an apple sapling in the cauldrons. So let's just check the recipe for that. Acacia saplings, we need a apple sapling in the cauldron full of water to make acacia. All right, so there we go, water in there, and we create 4 of those acacia saplings. Acacia sapling in the casting tray, pour on the molten iron, and we're now in the Iron Age. We have a iron sapling. Da-ding! All right, fantastic. So I'm going to take the opportunity to make a few more of those by planting the iron sapling down and ripping the tree down a few times. And once we've done that, we can actually get on to having some real fun with some more iron. Alrighty, so we've gotten a bunch of extra iron saplings, and I've transplanted them over onto our bonsai pot area here so they can continue to grow, and we'll harvest those as time goes on. Getting the iron sap and the iron acorns, much more effective way of getting that iron amber than using the combination we had before. But that being said, we should have melted down enough of that iron amber now so that we've got a full block worth. Yep, there we go. So we've got a full block worth of molten iron. We're going to pour the extras out that we need there just to fill up the casting basin, and there we go. We have a full casting basin, and that is going to start to harden as it cools down, and that'll turn into a block of iron for us. So how are our pigs going? We have adult pigs now, which is fantastic. So unfortunately, we're going to have to do the cruel thing and off one of them because we are going to need the pork. So quickly grab that. Sorry, guys. All right. Now that we've got that pork chop, what we're actually going to need to do to get those cow seeds, we're going to have to create some leather. So let's have a look at the cow seeds recipe. So we need 1 leather, 1 seeds, and 1 wheat. So we've got everything we need except for the leather. Now, leather is an interesting one. There's a whole bunch of different ways of obtaining leather. You can actually fish for it and sort of dry out some of the fish and harden them. You can do it with rotten flesh. You can do it with steak. And you can do it with cooked pork chops. So cooked pork chops in a dehydrator, which we will build later, or just on the drying rack, will actually do the job for us. So let's chuck that pork chop into the furnace. Now the real trick here is that you actually have to cook the pork chop first before you dry it and turn it into leather. Don't make the same mistake that I've made countless times, which is actually just putting the raw pork chop on the drying rack, because you'll get an entirely different thing out of that. I think you get pork jerky or something along those lines. Unless of course you actually want pork jerky, in which case knock yourself out. But we have 2 cooked pork chops now, which we're going to throw up on the drying rack, and that will very shortly get us some leather. All right, So the iron block has now been cast. We can chuck that on there and get iron ingots out of it, which is one of our achievements. And one thing I'm going to do immediately is craft ourselves a proper bucket so we can actually start to use the lava without losing our bucket every single time. So, all right, it's probably about time for an advancement check now. So let's see how we're going. We have made some progress already. So we've completed our amber challenge. We've got our ironwood. We've got our iron ingots and we've got our iron bucket. So moving on next, we're going to be looking at obtaining a lapis sapling. So, and redstone sapling as well. So how do we obtain a lapis sapling? Let's type that one in. So lapis sapling, this baby here, we have a water bottle, we have clay resin, bone resin, and a dark oak sapling. So dark oak's pretty easy. We've done this one before. So dark oak we can actually create by putting, actually we haven't done this before. We can put coal saplings in a cauldron full of water. So that's pretty easy. Let's get that going. We're going to use our shiny new bucket for this one. So, whoop, it's failing already. All right, so there we go. And we need some coal saplings. So we should have plenty of those in our coal chest here. Should we use all 4 of them? Let's just use half. We don't need too many. All right. So there we go. There we go. A couple of darkwood saplings. And in order to turn these into lapis saplings, we need to get our clay resin, our water bottle, and our bone resin. So a couple of water bottles. That shouldn't be too tough. We just need to grab some sand and cook that off in the furnace. So let's just put that in there. Put 3 of them in there. That should fire off pretty quickly. And meanwhile, let's see how our leather's going. There we go. We've got 2 pieces of leather. Fantastic. So we can craft those cow seeds now pretty easily. What did we need? We just needed the wheat. We needed the seeds. So we've got the wheat on us already. And we can make some cow seeds. So type that in. There we go. Cow seeds. Actually, I might just create a few of those while we're at it. Why not? We'll get a few cows going. All right, so with the cow seeds ready to go, we can plant them and get ourselves some cows. Once again, using the bone meal to make them grow up super fast. And before long, we'll have a much, much easier source of leather, not to mention delicious, delicious steak. So there we go. Baby cow. Now you can see that the cow seeds are actually still there in the ground. We've got one of those lucky runs where we can actually continue to throw bone meal on that and it'll grow another cow. So there we go. We've got another freebie out of it, and that one's gone now, so we do need to put the second lot of seeds down. So I might just close that gate before they escape on us. Chuck the cow seeds down, bone meal them once again, and hopefully we'll end up with at least 3 or 4 cows. There we go, we've got 3, so that's not too bad. That's not too bad. We have our cows. We have our pigs. Fantastic start to the farm. Okay, grabbing our glass. Grab our glass out of there. We needed a little bit more fuel in that one, didn't we? Okay, so we can create a glass bottle pretty easily. Let's do that. So we have, whoop, bang, bang, bang. There is 3 glass bottles. We probably don't need any more than that, actually. Let's put our extra glass away. And to fill those bottles up, super easy. Just go over to our infinite water source. And let's make it happen. So we needed some bone resin for this recipe, didn't we? So do we have any bone resin left? No, we need to grab some of that. Where's our bone? There's our bone. All right. We're out of resin. We'll need to harvest some trees. There we go. Is that giving us some bone resin? It has. Okay. And let's go back to the lapis sapling, just to check that we don't need anything else. There we go, we've got everything we need. We've got the clay resin, we've got the water bottle, we've got the dark oak sapling. Fantastic. There is our lapis sapling. So we've joined the Blue Man group. And as we usually do, I'm going to plant that lapis sapling on the ground first and get a bit of that twerking action going so we can actually harvest the full tree, and that'll give us a bunch of extra lapis saplings that we can then put in the bonsai pots. Go. We should have enough by now, I think. We picked up any saplings? No, we haven't. Where are the saplings? Give us some saplings. Come on. Can't be this hard to get all our saplings. Lapwings. We've got 1. Come on. I've got to be able to get another sapling out of you. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm pretty sure that was one that just dropped in. Okay, so we've got 2 lapis saplings. Let's get our bonsai going for those. So sapling, sapling, and we can start to get some beautiful blue trees. Okay. Now, onto the redstone sapling. How do we create a redstone sapling? So, A lot of redstone items. We're going to have to make our search a little bit more specific. Redstone sapling. So this one, we actually need our red dye, a coal sapling, iron resin, and petrified resin. So that iron resin we should have now that we've been creating our iron trees in the bonsai pots here. So let's harvest a couple of those. And has that given us enough iron resin? Yep, we've got 2 iron resin. Fantastic. We need a coal tree, so let's grab one of those saplings. And what was the other item we needed? Red dye. Okay, red dye is pretty easy. We just need to grab our poppy. So let's grab a couple of those, just turn them into dye. We're going to be using dye again in future, so it's probably not a bad thing to do. All right, so back onto the saplings. We have our redstone sapling here, and we're just missing the petrified resin. So we know where that is. That's over in this chest here. Grab a piece or 2 of petrified resin. And lo and behold, we're about to have ourselves a redstone sapling. Fantastic. Another achievement, another advancement marked off the list. So we've done our lapis sapling. We've done our redstone sapling. We're going to be on to red next, but before we do that, lead next, I should say. Let's get this redstone sapling planted, and I'm just going to harvest a few of these and fill up our bonsai pots, and we'll be back to make lead in just a minute. Alrighty, there we go. We've got our lapis and our redstone saplings cultivating in the bonsai pots now, and over time that'll generate us quite a few resources that'll be useful. And good God, they look pretty. So nice bright blue and red trees be really, really good for decorating something later on if you wanted to add a bit of colour to the place. But our whole farm's looking a fair bit more colourful now, which is great. But we're gonna move on to our other sapling of the evening, which is the lead sapling. So we're gonna need to create some lead amber for that one. So looking at our advancements roadmap, we have obtain lead amber, which will lead us to lead zeppelin, which is obtain lead sapling. So the recipe for lead amber is another one of those combo ones where you actually need a bunch of different saps from different trees. And we also need a blue item in the middle. So a piece of lapis or blue dye or something like that. Functionally the same thing as far as we're concerned. So we do have the petrified resin, the iron resin, and the sand resin. The only thing we're missing is the center, which is the lapis. Now, fortunately, we can actually get lapis now because we've got our lapis tree. And unlike crafting blocks using the combined resin and acorns, the lapis one works a little bit differently, where you just need the lapis acorns. And putting 9 lapis acorns together on the crafting grid will actually give you a solid lapis block, which then, of course, you can break down to get 9 pieces of lapis. Fantastic. So there we go. Let's get onto that lead amber. So we have all the parts required for that now. Let's grab our amber, complete that advancement, and then all we need to do with that lead amber is chuck it in the smeltery, and we're good to go. So I'm just going to break that smeltery block that we had the tin in because we no longer need the tin, and let's just place that back down fresh. And now we can fill that up with our lead amber and let that cook down. Now, to do the lead sapling, we do need a particular type of sapling to pour the molten lead onto. So just checking that. Lead sapling, we pour that onto the dark oak sapling. So fortunately, we made an extra one of those. So there we go. Grab our dark oak sapling, go and put that in the casting tray. And that lead has melted down now, so we can pour it straight over, and that will give us our lead sapling. Fantastic. So yeah, we're doing pretty well. I think getting up towards the end of the first advancement tab, which is fantastic. We're well on the road to our first prestige point. And now that we've got our animals going, I'll tell you there's another really interesting way we're going to uncover to get resources later on involving pigs and them digging up different types of resources via truffles. So we actually can create different types of resource pigs by feeding them different types of mud in buckets. And that's one of the things that you would have just seen on the advancement list here. So hog-tied, craft a cobblestone mud bucket, which you can feed to a pig to transform it into a resource hog. Now, we don't really need any more cobblestone from pigs, but I'm going to make this anyway because it's part of the advancement tree. So we can make a cobblestone mud bucket. That's not going to be too tough. Let's do a search for it now. So mud bucket, and we've got a huge range of different mud buckets here. Hopefully cobblestone is somewhere up the top. Now let's refine the search a little bit. cobblestone mud bucket. There we go. So to make a cobblestone mud bucket, we just need a bucket full of water, a piece of dirt, and a piece of cobblestone. Makes entire sense to me. So now you can only create this with the regular buckets, I believe. It won't do it with the clay bucket. I don't think it will do it with the clay bucket, but we've got our bucket of water. I think we've got some dirt on us. Yep, we do. And piece of cobblestone, piece of cake. So let's make that right now just to give us our achievement. So bucket of water, piece of cobblestone, and piece of dirt. Bob's your uncle. We have a cobblestone mud bucket. Now, we can actually feed this to one of the pigs to turn it into a cobblestone resource hog. And then they start looking a little bit like the resource that they're going to be digging up later on. So we now have a cobblestone resource hog looking like he's armored in stone. Pretty cool. Or some sort of rocky coat on him. Who knows? All right, so that is that. We have our lead sapling. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today. So we've done great. We have managed to get through another chunk of the advancements tree. We've got 4 new saplings. We've entered the Iron Age. And hey, we've got our crops and animals going. So not bad for a night's work. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Thanks for watching, and join us for the next one. So we'll be back real soon to finish off that advancements chart and get us onto our first prestige point. But in the meantime, if you've enjoyed this series, you better be subscribing. Make sure you're following. So hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell for notifications of when new content goes up. Check out the source of all of our other content over at our main site at channelendgame.com. But otherwise, that's it. My name's Luke. This has been great. We'll see you back next time for some more farming. Until then, keep enjoying that SkyFactory.